Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Roast.
I'm Jessica Bunbun.
We are here with our reaction and review of All's Fair
hmm
Season 1, Episode 7. It was the best of times on All's Fair this week, and it was also the worst of times because I feel like when this episode hit, it hit really well, and when it missed, the quote, my grandfather, rest in peace, it couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It was just like amazing, and then bad, and then amazing again.
This episode easily would have been the best of the season if it weren't for Car's speech about her cat. That absolutely just took me right out of the moment. I know that there's a lot of camp and humor and fun stuff on this show. And even with a serious subject like Dina losing her husband and what she was going through and her grief and the choices she was making, this whole scene just didn't work. It is the same problem that has been going on this entire season, which is that the writing for the Car character doesn't make any sense. She's there trying to comfort Dina and work through all of this with her other motives as well. Oh, maybe I can get a seat at the table at this firm. I can get another way into this firm. And this is what she's doing. She is fully aware of what she is saying. Sounds crude.
Okay, here's the thing here. I don't even have to put on a tinfoil hat because I just legitimately believe this is true. 50% of All's Fair was created to tell a compelling story, and when it does that, it's great. The other 50% was made for memes. It was basically meant so that people who are watching the show for viral celebrities like Kim Kardashian can take all of this speech, put it on social media,
Yeah.
and be like, look how crazy this all is. And it's just ridiculous, silly, makes no sense for the character, makes no sense for the show, the lack of self-awareness. It's just when it's doing things like that, it is such a try hard. And you don't have to be a try hard when you have Sarah Paulson, when you have Glenn Close, who was completely phenomenal in this episode.
Here's the other thing is they're touching on a really important subject, which is grief.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Ryan was doing this on purpose or he kind of fell backwards into this, but he definitely showed a side of grief that I think there's a lot of people out there that will relate to what Dina did with Dougie. But I think there's an even more important story here, which is how does everybody else around somebody who is grieving deal with it, where they think they know better, everybody has to grieve the same. And there was a lot of that in this episode that we are going to dive into.
Before we do, though, be sure to hit that subscribe
Mhm.
button because we are here covering All's Fair
Yep.
every single week, talking about the strong points of it. And of
Yep.
course, hearing from you guys in the comments. We love hearing your thoughts about this crazy, crazy show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to everyone who has hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to us.
We really, really appreciate that.
Okay, let's stick with Dina here because really this is all about her and what is going on with losing the love of her life. She's been married for 40 years. Dougie has passed away and he passes away in the night and she does not call in the funeral home. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am a former funeral director. So you guys might be watching this being like, wow, who would do that? Does that ever actually happen? It absolutely does, that people do end up spending more time with their deceased partner or loved one or whoever before calling us in to come and collect the body and remove the body from the premises.
Mhm.
Now, she ended up being there with his body for 3 days. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there being like, well, that would never happen. That also does happen. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot of different backgrounds where people will have things, as she said, wakes where you do sit with the body or you stay with the body. There are religions that stay with the body the entire time until burial. They actually have people designated to stay in a room with the body 24/7 until the person is buried. This isn't abnormal. So when we're in the situation here where you've got the rest of the crew, all the other women are like, we don't know what to do about this. This isn't normal. You know, Allura even says this is more than just grieving. That's not true. This is grieving, and grieving looks different to every single person. And this is what I'm talking about with Ryan and his writing, where I was like, Is this something that he wrote on purpose to show that not everyone's going to understand everybody else's grieving process? Everyone's going to have an opinion
Mhm.
on how they should grieve through it, whether it's through bagpipes or throwing a wake, or she wants to continue to spend time with Dougie's body. She's not ready to call the funeral home yet. Everybody has an opinion, but for me, really, it's whoever is grieving, they're correct. There is no wrong way to grieve. You have to go through it at your time. And I really liked that Ryan showed that it's difficult when you have somebody that you care about. All the women really care about Dina. Oh, we all really care about you. How are we going to get her through this? Oh, I know, right? I know best. I know best. And everybody's trying to step in where Dina really just needs to get through it.
There's a lot that struck me through a lot of this, and I don't have the funeral experience that you have. I've never been licensed funeral director. All I am is chronically online, and because of that, I've seen some things, and I have learned, to quote Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental. And so I don't sit here and have any judgment towards Dina through this whole sequence. I just felt like there was this interesting distinction, and yeah, whether Ryan did this on purpose or not, I have no idea, but we have Dina, somebody who has been in a relationship for a very, very long time. And I don't
Yes.
think it's a coincidence that none of the other characters can relate to that at all. Yeah, we have the Allura Chase relationship, which is clearly hot and cold. But then we have Liberty, who is just embarking on this next chapter of her life. You know, we've seen what's going on with Emerald and her romantic life. It's just nobody can relate to what
No.
Dina is going through. And then,
Even
yeah,
Car, her whole thing is like comparing it to her cat. It
yeah,
is not the same.
no, and then you're adding on top of this, of course, that these people are lawyers. And one thing, whether it's stereotypical or not, lawyers always think that they're right because they make a whole business out of going into a courtroom, a mediation room, and just arguing with people. So, of course, they're all going to go in here with these really strong opinions as to what is right, what is wrong, how to handle it. The idea that they would fight and argue over every petty little thing, including Dina being in this spot where Car's just taking over, kicking out Liberty. I didn't have any problem with the realism of any of that because it just felt like that would probably happen.
1,000%. I have seen some fights happen, people trying to kick each other out, people trying to take claim over deceased jewelry, all kinds of fights over flowers. Yeah, there's always like, oh, this person's not allowed in, this person's allowed in. That happens almost every time. There is always some sort of beef that is going on with the people around the person who is grieving or around the person who has passed away.
I really actually liked that All's Fair didn't go above and beyond with trying to create as many different storylines as possible surrounding what happened to Dougie. I mean, they might still, but I'm hoping there's no, oh, here come all these various suits about a will, or here come all these people coming in and fighting. I really enjoy the idea that in the midst of this show about law, really the only conflict that existed in this story was how long Dina was spending with Dougie, which is really just something based on your grieving process, based on something that is strictly personal, not legal, and that leaves these other characters scrambling because this is a world they don't understand.
Absolutely. And Dina was stuck in her grief. She wasn't ready to move on. And the women did all come together to find a way to be able to kind of break through and be like, it's time to let the body go. You still are holding on to Dougie. He is with you forever, but it's time to call the funeral home. And she still came to it on her own, which I really appreciated, where they said their piece and she was like, okay, I've heard you, give me a minute. And they all went downstairs and had their conversation. And it was Dina that decided when it was time.
This is the ideal way to utilize all of the cast. I have been on these videos all season complaining about these group conference room sessions that they have where they're just sort of firing off witty one-liners and they never felt realistic. But this did because you had an organic push and pull. You obviously had arguments. You had people doing what was not necessarily the right thing, but they all still had this same sort of shared intention where even if you're Car and you've got more beefs than any human being knows what to deal with, like at the end of the day, her goal was still, I want to find a way to be here for Dina, somebody who I considered a mentor despite everything that has happened.
It's part of the goal. It also seems like she is still trying to finagle her way to have a seat at the table with this firm. She didn't get it through Chase. Now it's possible that she can kind of get it this way. It seems like it's part of it. I don't think it's all of it, but it's part of it. But I do want to talk about Liberty here because there is something interesting going on here with her and Dina and the other women. She mentioned at the table where it was like Allura was able to get through and talk to Dina, and Emerald was able to get through and talk to Dina, but Liberty not taking her calls. Oh, sorry, she's indisposed, can't come to the phone. And even when Liberty actually came over and she went to kind of give her the side hug, she got a side eye from Dina in a way where what Liberty is saying, where she's like, I've always felt like I just don't belong. Like I'm sort of the outsider that has come in, but I've never fully in. And this is feeling like this. And when I saw that, I was like, she might be onto something. And then she brings in those bagpipes. And oh my God, let me tell you about these bagpipes. My grandfather wanted bagpipes at his funeral. And man, he got what he wanted. But that is an outside instrument. Don't bring it inside somebody's house. Don't bring it inside the chapel, which is what he wanted. This is an outside instrument. However, when it was brought into Dina's house, she also kind of made a comment again to Emerald that was in passing about sort of Liberty and what she's doing and whatever. And I saw it on Emerald's face too, where she was like, maybe there's a little bit of truth to what Liberty is feeling.
I had a family member once ask for bagpipes for Christmas, and then let me tell you, Jess could not be more correct in her statement. There is nothing worse than at 11 a.m. hearing somebody who doesn't know how to play the bagpipes play the bagpipes. It sounds like a horror that has been committed to cats worldwide.
I will say that the bagpipes can be very nice. I have a neighbor who is like way up on the hill that plays the bagpipes once in a while. I maybe hear them 2 or 3 times a year. I'm far enough away that when I hear it like trickling down the hill, I'm like, that sounds nice, but not inside.
Well, here's the thing for me with Liberty is that through a lot of this episode, they're kind of touching on this constant disconnect that's here around this character. It feels like tinfoil hat, they're kind of setting up that, okay, is Liberty leaving in the finale? And then are we going to have some sort of setup where there's all this tension? Is there another rival out there? And I just feel like, where has this been all season? It all feels very sudden. To me, the first few episodes really felt like it was Allura and Liberty versus the world. And then you had Emerald sort of coming into the picture. You had Dina eventually joining. And now it's sort of flipped. There's character development and then there's character teleportation. And it kind of feels like that's what happened here.
Liberty has been completely left out of this show. She doesn't have enough to do. She has this very small storyline about marrying some great guy and maybe that'll go okay, and she has a little bit of insecurity about it. She wasn't even in the last episode. It was like, oh yeah, you guys organized this mediation while you knew I was on another case. And it's kind of like, yeah, that is kind of weird. Oh, Carr pushed for it. Okay, well, you could have pushed back. You're also lawyers. Like you can decide what you want. It's your divorce, Allura. Like you decide.
All right, with that in mind, the Allura storyline, let's just get to it. This is the worst part of the show right now. I don't buy watching the two of them together. And beyond all of that, we talked about this in the last episode. Chase is great. Chase is a very fascinating character. Yeah. And even on his amends tour in this episode, it was really funny. It was ridiculous at times. Of course, they're going to throw in the line of, oh, I was with your twin, you're identical. It hit all of these stereotypical notes, but it was well acted. And I felt like the timing of it was really, really good. And so we're going through this process, but there is this emotional undercurrent to it. But then when we get to him and Allura, it's so painfully obvious through the entire thing that, all right, they're going to get back together because she doesn't really know or doesn't want to acknowledge that this is bad. She still thinks it's right. It's just so predictable and the chemistry just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's predictable, but it is something that does happen
Yeah.
in divorces all the time. Lots of people get divorced and then get remarried and it sticks, or they get divorced again or whatever. But it does end up happening. I mean, it's pretty common. But the thing that I'm having the most trouble with is that the chemistry is not there with Chase and Allura the way that it is with Chase and Maria. It is completely there with them.
Yeah.
You've got two people who feel like they're not being able to be their authentic selves unless they're together. Like, he goes on this big apology tour, nobody cares. She comes in, they sit down, they have this dinner, she's very appreciative of it, and he's trying to apologize, and she's like, listen, like, you don't need to apologize. We knew what this was, even though there is something here. That's not what it was then, but I appreciate that you're trying to do this now, but no apology needed. There is something really special about this relationship, about two people that just can't be themselves, but they can be together. And that's where the chemistry is. That's the relationship I am invested in.
And I feel like, yeah, that's a good thing because I feel like that's where we're going to end up going by the end of this season.
Oh, I hope so.
I just don't think Chase is long for this show, and I don't like saying that because I like the character, but it is a situation where you sit back and it feels like him and Allura are doomed, that they're trying to make something work that doesn't fit. There's too
Right.
much baggage. The chemistry just isn't there. I agree. There's a lot more with him and Maria, and I think in these final episodes this season, they're going to come to terms with this. Now, the problem is obviously Chase is not a lawyer. And yeah, he did this whole spiel with Milan where it could be, all right, we're setting up for this other lawsuit to become a big part of the show next season. And
Mhm.
maybe that happens. I just feel like at a certain point, they're gonna circle the wagons with this character and there's just not gonna be any more story to tell.
Yeah, this whole thing was really interesting. And this is everybody put on your hard hats.
All right.
Because I actually feel that Chase is right in wanting to have some parental rights. His whole, like, I'm taking full custody, that's not right either. Like, it needs to be, if you've got two parents that want to be involved and they're both going to be good to this kid, then both parents just need to be involved. These
Yeah.
two, I get it, they have beef, but that doesn't mean that the kid then shouldn't get to be with his dad or his mom. So he was wrong on saying that, but he's not wrong on saying, listen, if you're not even going to sit down and talk to me about it, yes, I'm here to apologize. You're on your phone, you're throwing things at me. Like, it's a really bad relationship, obviously, but it might be at the point that if Chase is like, listen, I was going to give you whatever you wanted. You wanted the space, you wanted me not involved, you wanted money, whatever it is you want. I actually want to be a dad, and I'm not going to get that chance. And you acting like this, I've decided that maybe it's time, and this is how we should have said it, maybe it's time to get some stuff down in writing of what custody looks like, shared custody, so that if you don't want to talk to me, that's totally okay. But you don't get to choose that I don't get to be a dad. Like, this is half my kid.
This whole story and this dynamic is just too weird for me, where I understand Milana's upset. Like, understandably, she feels like she has been played. She feels like she has been hurt, but so have a ton of other people who have been around Chase, and they've established no one else is acting to this extent towards him. So it feels purposefully extreme because they want to make some sort of legal showdown out of this, or maybe give these actors this sort of material. It just doesn't really feel that organic. It just feels more like we need this so that we can continue to have Chase on the show. We can continue to give Carr something to do so that Sarah can have her big monologue. I'm sure it will be resolved in some way. It just doesn't hit for me.
The other thing that's just, I was really glad that Chase called out that he's like, yeah, I'm a bad guy and I've done these bad things and I'm trying to make amends for these things, but you slept with your boss's husband and that's not okay either. We both are bad in this because you actually work for her. You are friends with her. You respect her, sort of thing. I have said these types of things too. We both are in the wrong here. And I agree. It's always been kind of weird that Allura's just been like, yeah, okay, Milan, you did this. She had her whole dream sequence, but really there was no consequences for doing that. She's still working for her. Everything is still whatever. Like, it just was very weird.
There's too many things on this show that are just frankly confounding. And that's why we have this weird dichotomy, beautiful emotional stuff with Dina, and then Emerald and her investigation into this Lloyd Walton character has just completely disappeared from the show these past couple of episodes. It's just nowhere, despite the fact this is the best mystery that All's Fair has.
Yeah.
That episode focusing on Emerald was the best episode they've done.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, they're just interested in other things. Now, I'm sure this is going to come back before the end of this season. It just feels like to me, if you were giving this 10 minutes of airtime in every single episode, we would be so much more invested. We would be having all these theories that we could send out there, but there's no evidence, there's no clues, there's no continuation. It's just somewhere off screen.
Okay, tinfoil hat. This is
All right.
where they're going to end up going with that, because we know that it's been renewed and it's coming back.
Yeah.
The final scene is somebody getting arrested. It's either going to be Allura, it's going to be Emerald, it's going to be whoever. One of the women is going to end up getting arrested. We're not going to hear too much more about it, and that way it's a bit of a shocker when it's all of a sudden the police swoop in, the detective grabs whoever and puts them in cuffs and out the door, and then we got to wait till season 2.
Here's the one reason I would be okay with that as an ending, because there is a renewal for season 2.
Right.
I don't want the grotesquerie ending, where as it turns out, the real grotesquerie was the friends we made along the way,
no.
where it just is sort of like, I don't know if that show's ever coming back at this point. I'm not hopeful, and I still have no idea what was going on that show.
God, that was such a good show. I really hope they find a way to bring that back around. What a great show.
It was a great show, but that's the thing with this. If you have a cliffhanger, and an arrest like that is a huge cliffhanger, you need to be able to pay it off. And I would be a little bit more okay with that. It just feels like, other than isolated stories and occasionally good monologues, All's Fair through 7 episodes still doesn't really know what it wants out of itself.
No, and I mean, that can be okay. There's a lot of first seasons of shows where they're kind of finding their footing. You know, there's good stuff, there's bad stuff, whatever. And then season 2 of The Office comes out and it blows everything out of the water. It's just like the most amazing TV. I'm not saying that All's Fair is necessarily going to do that, but I found that shows like The Office really found their footing in season 2, and a lot of shows do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think Breaking Bad season 2 is better than season 1. I think
Yes.
Community season 2 is way better than season 1. Like, this does happen sometimes. Shows
Yeah.
get a better sense of who they are, what they want to do. I think that all these characters, I mean, Allura included, do have potential to grow and change and evolve. They just need to have a little more confidence in what they're actually presenting, especially with Allura, who, I'm not saying she is superficial, but the writing for her is very much, here's the surface of it, we're not doing anything else.
Yeah, there's not enough of a deeper story going on, which is very weird to say considering she's going through a very emotional divorce.
Yeah.
There's just not enough there. It feels like Chase really has all the meatiest material and she's not reacting to it. Like, I know she's a closed off character that really internalizes things, but that can be very difficult to come across on TV, where it's like, okay, I guess she's holding everything in, but like, I need to feel something.
Well, that is what we're left to think about now following All's Fair season 1, episode 7. But of course, let's hear from you guys. What did you think about the Dina storyline, the way it was presented? What do you want to see in the final episodes of this season? Share in the comments. And of course, hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any more content on this show. We really appreciate your support, and we'll see you here next time.